I've known a lot of these clients as on a professional, business level, but most of them are involved supporting something that I never knew about. Some I knew. And the fact that I'm there and they like me, they're open to seeing what I'm up to and visiting and trying to help out. So, so my banking clients and prospects are now my nonprofit prospects and the relationships and trying to show them, different parts of society and why, us fortunate people need to help the less fortunate. And it makes you feel good too.
Three, two, one, zero, and liftoff.
Hey everybody, welcome to this episode of MissionCTRL. This is your host, Ramon Peralta with Peralta Design, and we launch brands. And we've got an exciting episode. We have the one and only Nick Sentementes, Director of Development at Hall Neighborhood House. Welcome to MissionCTRL.
Ramon, thank you very much. Pleasure to be here.
Yes, we're so excited to have you. Can't wait to dive in. And I do want to introduce the man on the soundboard today, our Director of Web Development, not to be confused with Director of Development. This is Web Development, Mr. Jorge Pezo Candelario.
How's it going, everyone? Good afternoon.
Yes, we're here. We're live, and we have Nick in the house. Nick, thank you for the tour you gave me. It was amazing of Hall Neighborhood House. But we want to dive into the gold, and we're going to get back to that tour because the energy was amazing. But it was just, occurred to us that relationships seem to be the common theme throughout what you're doing now and what you did in your very decorated career as a banker. Looking at your LinkedIn here, so many logos, so many different bank logos, but the relationships you built over the years. For our entrepreneurs, for our small business owners that are out there, the importance of establishing relationships that can actually pay dividends for many, many years to come.
Absolutely. Thank you, Ramon. I spent 30 years in commercial banking in Connecticut, New York, New Jersey, Long Island. And the one common theme was, relationships and meeting people and helping them with their business and creating a comfort level and trust. And there's customers and clients I haven't done any banking business with for 10, 15 years, and we're still in touch and connections are still there and friendships. So, over the years, you develop a network of people and they're always willing to help you if you help them. And the key is to help someone first, and then they kind of owe you. So then, so you want to, and if you can't help them, maybe someone that can help them. So you try to introduce people to each other, and it goes a long way.
Absolutely, and one of our heroes, Bob Cinto, likes to say that we do business with people that we like. So likability, comfort level. Have some things in common. Know your audience. Some people, everyone's different, so you want to be able to read them and have them feel comfortable in your presence and help them.
Would you say that likability is a thing that you can teach, that I think you can coach, or is it a thing that you have it or not?
Likability is, I don't know, I think either you have it or you don't. A lot of people, it depends. You meet someone, it takes maybe 30 seconds before you can decide, this is someone I want to hang out with or maybe not. So,
There's a certain degree of chemistry that has to be there between the two, those two connections. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
I think we have this ability to just sense if somebody's being real, and I think that's a big part of likability. You got to be relatable. You got to be empathetic. Where do you think you learned some of those skills?
I'd say from my mother. I mean, my parents came over on a boat from Greece, in 1960, and a 12-day journey, and there was babies born on the boat and people getting sick, and they came over and, they didn't have much education, but they had a good work ethic that they passed on to my sister and myself, and always worked hard, Sacrificing.
And did they expect you to be like, where did this idea of becoming a banker? Were you just good at math? Did you like count money?
I was good at math and I liked money. So growing up, I was always, I don't know, kids don't do it nowadays, but I used to shovel walkways and driveways and cut lawns, and I had 2 paper routes, and was always hustling. So I always had money. I could buy some Pumas, and with my own money. My parents didn't have money to buy me fancy sneakers, so I had to pay for them myself.
I was a Puma guy. Not so much the Adidas, but Pumas definitely. Were not to be stereotypical, but were diners in the family? Because I see, especially in Fairfield County, there are a lot of Greek diners. It's a thing.
Yeah, no, I had never thought of that path. The pizza or the diner. And I'm one of the few rare Greeks that don't drink coffee either. Wow. I get a lot of razzing about that.
Yeah. Wow. What about Kalamata olives?
Oh yeah, my father was born in Kalamata.
No way.
Yeah. We have relatives there.
Kalispera.
Christo.
That's it. That's all I know.
That's all you know?
I'm tapping out. I learned enough to visit. Santorini was amazing. Beautiful place.
Oh yeah.
We stayed there, and I'm not an olive guy, but in Greece I ate them because the Greek salads there are just amazing with the feta and
that's right, tomatoes.
Oh man! But back to relationships. As a banker, did you start out interfacing with people, or are you more like behind the scenes, or how did you start nurturing those relationships early on?
My first job out of college was with a company called the CIT Group, which was a finance company in Stamford. And I was behind the scenes. I was working in the pricing group and working with the bankers and sales reps who were actually proposing on financing transactions, and got a good sense of how to market from these guys, and sat in on a lot of meetings with clients. So kind of learned the ways of.
What were some things that worked and some things that just did not work out so well?
Changing terms. Sometimes a deal changes, and sometimes it has to change, and sometimes it changes because someone didn't do their homework on the inside. You have to, there's.
You mean like you met me, you promised me a certain rate, and
right.
then when I got the contract, the numbers changed.
Right. Instead of showing the contract to my credit people first before presenting it to you, I didn't do that, and presented it to you, and you're like, oh, I love it. And then I brought it back, and then the credit people were like, oh, we can't agree to this. So then I have to go back and change it a little bit.
Oh no.
Yeah.
That's the classic, like, over-promise, under-deliver.
Bait and switch.
Yeah. It's like, and it's typical of people in sales. You do anything you can to get it done. It's like if I said, hey, yeah, we can get that website done in a week, and I get the contract signed, and then I come back to Jorge and I say, Jorge, and Jorge's like, we cannot deliver in a week. It's going to take 6 weeks. Client's not going to be happy.
I know.
You know what I mean? And then if they're not going to refer people. The relationship is not off on the right start.
That's right.
I do find, though, that in terms of preserving that relationship, bringing that up front at the top of the conversation is always helpful. It being a surprise at the end never helps. I feel like if you're going to have, okay, hey, listen, up front, we had to change a couple terms, but it's still a great deal, and here's why, this, that, the other thing. I think there are some things that you can do to kind of mend that relationship, show them that you do have their best interests at heart, in mind, but you may have had to pivot a little bit.
Right. Yeah, you want to create a win-win situation where the client's satisfied with the transaction, and the bank can live with it, and it's a solid piece of business, and there's future opportunities, and you want to develop a relationship and continue to do more business with the individual or the company.
Absolutely.
Also, just out of curiosity, when it comes to likability in the banking world, does that play a role into what that final number is at the bottom line? If your relationship with your banker and they like you, right? Does that play any role as to whether or not they can try to move a couple percentage points, or does that not ever play a factor? It's just not in the cards of like the nuts and bolts.
You're retired, so you can tell us.
Yeah, maybe down the road, once you establish a relationship, if it's a new client, it takes time. You want to learn more about them, but you can learn a lot about a company, their history, and one of the C's of credit is character. So you really look at the person, their company, the history. Is it well run? The management's experience. There's certain factors we look at, but likability is important, along with competence and whatever else you want to do.
I got to ask a branding question. I know we're talking about relationships, but you were at Key Bank, Tri-State Capital, Newtown Savings, right? What was it like going from one culture to another? Or did it not affect what you were doing?
It's each bank culture is totally different.
Yeah.
You would think banking is banking, but it's not. There's different policies and procedures. Seems the smaller banks are a little more conservative. The bigger banks are a little more flexible because they have more capital to play with. So every culture is different, even though the money's the same and homogenous, right?
Yeah.
All the bills are green.
Right. But did you find that you could, I mean, as we bring it back to relationships, if you had a relationship with a client under one brand, did they transfer over when you went to a different bank? Were you able to carry some of those relationships with you? People that just liked you and they didn't care what bank you were at?
Yeah, some followed me. And it all depends. Some clients that have had more services in place, it was kind of hard to switch. If you had certain services and you have to notify all your clients that you're changing banks, it's very disruptive to switch banks. Clients put up with a lot of pain before they say, I've had enough and I'm changing banks.
Yeah, I mean, I think the relationship, you have a relationship with you, but then you have a relationship with the bank. Then there's experience, there's that customer experience when you walk in the bank. And I think, with a 30-year career, you've seen a lot change now where some folks aren't even dealing with a teller. They they use their app, or they do mobile banking.
Right. I think that regardless of the banks, I think I've always, adhered to, when I go meet a potential client, I always pretend that I own their business and what would I do if I needed some banking in the decision. So I would say, you know what, maybe it's not a good time to do that. Maybe you should hold off. I think interest rates are going to drop a little bit more. I would hold off, and of course I want the business now, but I would do what's best interest for them and say, okay, you know what, let's wait another couple months and see where rates move. I think they're going to head down a little bit. You'll get a better rate. So always, you do the right thing, it comes back.
Yeah, I think that's the gold right there, because from a customer standpoint, I want to feel your allegiances to me. I know you work for a bank and I know you work for a brand, but the relationship piece, you can't reveal that your allegiance is to the organization.
Right.
That if I genuinely feel like you're looking out for me, that's gonna build that trust, right? That's gonna build that relationship, make it strong. And as long as I have trust, then I'm not gonna switch bankers, because that's the hallmark of any relationship. I think at the end of the day is being able to not just like the person and be relatable to the person, but trust the person.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. So when we come back after these words, we're gonna answer the magic question, because you retired, but instead of living on a golf course as many people want to do in retirement, or on an island, if golf's not your thing, you decided to get back into service, and we're gonna learn all about that right after these words.
Wondering what to do with your old smartphones or outdated computer equipment? Do you know what hackers can do with your sensitive personal data when you are leaving behind on these hard drives? The team at National E-Waste Services understands the importance of protecting sensitive information and the environment. Their services also include the safe and discreet disposal of battery banks, cables, phones, and more. For more information, visit nationalewasteservices.com.
Mission Control.
And we're back. Please help me welcome once again Nick Sentementes, Development Director at Hall Neighborhood House. So when you're Director of Development, you got to bring in the dough.
That's correct.
Is that pretty much?
That's correct.
Yeah. And
I'm like Robin Hood, looking for people with money to help the less fortunate.
The less fortunate. And when we were just in between segments there, you mentioned something that when you look out for folks, it comes back tenfold. The same can be said for giving back. When you help those less fortunate, it comes back tenfold. So I love to see the parallels. I want us to I want you to take us through the story behind the man, because for most people, a long career in banking, you retire, you sail off into the sunset, but you didn't take that path. So we want to learn the why behind that decision.
Okay, how far back do you want me to go?
Well, we took us back to Greece. So
Okay.
we're in the States now.
All right.
So
All right. So I was born in Stamford.
Mhm.
I have a sister. My parents were hardworking. My dad worked for Pitney Bowes. He had a high school education. My mother quit school after 6th grade and learned how to sew. So she worked in all these dress shops, working on wedding gowns and fancy dresses, just trying to make a living for the family. And we all grew up with a great work ethic. My sister is very successful. She was a high school math teacher and then principal, and now she's an educational consultant in New Jersey. We just hustled. Dad went to work every day. Mom worked, and that's what we learned.
What expectations did they put on you?
Oh, they expected us to go to college,
Yeah.
and they wanted us to have a better life, and they did everything, and we wanted to make them proud of us. So, and like you said, my background, I was always good with numbers, and it's funny, I was really good in chemistry, but I wasn't really interested, and so I wanted to major in business, and decided to pursue a degree in finance, and then kind of pursued working for a finance company or in the banking world. And
Did you have dreams of being like on Wall Street or
not
New
necessarily.
York City?
No, I wanted to stay in Connecticut, kind of like Connecticut. I've heard this some friends, the commute, the train breaks down, takes you 4 hours to get home. So
Plus the lifestyle.
yeah.
You seem more of a laid back guy than a Wolf of Wall Street type guy.
Yeah, I like the fresh air out here. No high rises, So I, like I said, I worked at several different banks, and the reason for the changing in banks, one place they had some issues, and we weren't competitive, and we were losing a lot of deals. And when you're in banking, you need to close transactions and bring in deposits. And if you don't have a competitive interest rate and you're losing deals to other banks, then sometimes, financially it's time to make a move.
Yeah.
And there was some good opportunities, and then nothing stays the same. So after, 5 years, 7 years, you're always getting called from headhunters looking for bankers, banks looking for bankers. So, there's always people calling you to say, hey, are you interested in another opportunity? And, conversations are free, so why not?
Relationships again, because I'm sure the word got around that you were good at what you were doing, and folks are like looking, hey, we need a guy. Who's that guy? It's going to be Nick.
Yeah, going back, I look back, I met a lot of wonderful people, a lot of great business owners and executives working in the middle market. You're working with the treasurers or the CFOs. Smaller companies, you're dealing with the owner or the presidents. And so it's there's different dynamics where you get with middle market companies than with small business owners. But it was, I have no regrets.
And then UConn all the way?
UConn, I went to UConn, graduated, and then worked for 3 years, then wanted to pursue an MBA. And I realized I learned more in grad school than I did in undergrad. It was a good idea. And, we're a UConn legacy family. My 2 kids have graduated from UConn. Then my last son is going to be a freshman in the fall in stores. And it's just been great. I'm very involved with the Alumni Association and try to help out UConn when I can, and now's the time to give back.
Absolutely. Now, that's a good segue, because we're leading up to your current role. Was community service something your parents instilled in you? Like, where does this, kind of focus or motivation to help the less fortunate come from?
When I was growing up in Stamford, and the Greek community is very tight, and we had a community center with a gymnasium, and all the Greek kids would hang out together. We had Greek school and church, Sunday school. So there was always a tight-knit community, and, the Greek women were always doing philanthropic stuff and bake sales. And if someone had a problem or an accident, they would get together and make food. So I was always, exposed to that, giving back at the church level. And it just, working throughout the years, I had certain bills that I needed to pay. So the nonprofit world, you have to take a substantial pay cut to join nonprofit world, but I've never done anything more rewarding. I love it.
Yeah, but how did it happen? Because
how did it happen?
Yeah, I know your wife.
Yeah, I was thinking about joining another bank, and I had a really nice opportunity, and but it involved travel. And my wife said, "You're not thinking about taking that job, are you?" I go, "Yeah, I'm thinking about it." She goes, "You're not taking that job." I go, "Why not?" She goes, "Because you're going to be traveling, and you're going to, after 2 months, you're going to come home complaining." And she goes, "I don't want to hear it." So I figured I knew a few people in the nonprofit world, and I spoke to them, had some meetings, and they're like, "Oh, you need to go to an AFP meeting." I go, "What's that?" Like, Association of Fundraising Professionals. They have a Fairfield County chapter. I went to a couple meetings, and I met lovely people that do fundraising development for nonprofits, cancer centers, hospitals, private schools, social services, and all lovely people. So, and then I was introduced to the executive director at Hall Neighborhood House, and he used to be a business owner. He was 10 years ago, he got out of business and joined Hall. And I just wanted to pick his brain on the pivot from business to nonprofit and just get some insight from him. And we kind of hit it off. And he said, "Oh, I think I could use you at Hall Neighborhood House." And he invited me down, and I did a tour, and I just saw this 42,000 square foot community center on the east side. Next year, it'll be 140 years in business. And I just kind of fell in love with the place, and the staff and the clients we serve, they're all lovely people.
Yeah, there's definitely some universe doing its thing there, putting you in the right places with the right people to see these right opportunities. Because it seems like you were in the banking industry, but you definitely come across as someone that has this warm heart, heart of gold, wants to help, wants to give back. And we like to say you use your powers for good.
It's about time.
It's about time. It's about time. It's about time. So I know you didn't get too deep into it, but I just want to read a little bit about Hall Neighborhood House, and then you can just give us a little bit of the history that you gave me. So Hall Neighborhood House is a nonprofit community center. It's based on the east side of Bridgeport. Almost hidden because it used to be like PT was back there. Is that right? Like PT Barnum projects were back there, and then they got torn down.
Father Panic.
Father Panic. I get him. I get the housing projects mixed up sometimes.
And that area now is lovely with houses and schools and other apartments, and it's really being redeveloped.
I love what they're doing now with affordable housing or workforce housing. That it doesn't look like these like cinder block institutions.
Yeah, bunkers.
Yeah. They look like homes.
They really do, like neighborhoods.
People can take pride in them, and they have porches and.
That's right, grass,
green grass, right? So, but it is a hidden gem because I met you there. I parked around the block. I didn't realize how huge this place was, and thank you for the tour. But there was so much this feeling of warmth and love, almost a safe haven. You called it an oasis for the people there, and there are littles as young as what, like
6 weeks.
6 weeks, Jesus.
6 weeks to 5 years old.
6 weeks to 5, and then you have
in our early learning division, and then in the afternoon we have about 60 elementary and middle school students who show up, and then another 20 high school students for our high school program.
But then there was like bingo going on too with like senior care.
Yeah, then there's the senior center that we have maybe 40, 50 seniors who show up on a daily basis, and we provide meals for them, and they play bingo and listen to music and socialize. And we just recently were in the process of completing an outside deck for them, so that overlooking the playground, so they could go out there and get some fresh air and watch the little kids. And a lot of good things happening there.
That's amazing. What was it like your first day? Like coming from the banking world, and then you're in this nonprofit place where you're just helping poor people? Like, what was that like?
It was just very relaxing and calm, and no one running around about losing a deal or something going wrong. And, a lot of little kids, a lot of good mornings, a lot of thank yous, just a lot of smiles.
You got a few hugs when I was there, too.
Oh, yeah. I get the little ones, they hug my leg. Got to make sure I don't trip. A lot of high fives.
Yeah, but just coming home, not as stressful as being a banker.
Not at all, including the commute. I come down the 25 connector and I get off right before the traffic backs up. People trying to get onto I-95 to go to Norwalk or Stamford. So I miss it every day.
Oh, man.
No
so,
traffic.
Tell me about how the relationships in the banking world are, like prospects that you had in the banking world are now potential funders in the nonprofit world.
Yeah, that's it's interesting because I've known a lot of these clients as on a professional, business level, but most of them are involved supporting something that I never knew about. Some I knew, and the fact that I'm there and they like me, they're open to seeing what I'm up to and visiting and trying to help out. So, yeah, so my banking clients and prospects are now my nonprofit prospects and the relationships, and trying to show them, different parts of society and why, us fortunate people need to help the less fortunate, and it makes you feel good too.
I feel like there's in Fairfield County a strong community of folks that get that, because it's not something that you're not out here like trying to sell people on that topic. Either you're into that or you're not. Either
you care about other people or you don't.
Right. It's
just
like
two things.
Right. When you put it that way. So tell us more about some of the programs there. I know that, you're taking, there's things you take like on donation, and there's other, people sounds like you have plenty of volunteers. Kind of tell us like, what do you need? What are ways people can help?
Yeah, it's funny. So we have, like the Knights of Columbus. They're kind of an older crowd, the members. So they kind of come across and say, oh, it's easy to raise money for children because they're so cute. We think the seniors are neglected, so we'd like to sponsor the senior center. So they make a donation, and that money goes for the seniors, which is great. And so we check a lot of boxes. So some people want to take care, they're involved with the early learning. They want to help the kids. We have a health clinic and a dental clinic that can use some support. And one of our major programs now is this Alan Wallach STEM Learning Center that we started a couple years ago. And we had a prominent donor who was friends. Alan Wallach was a longtime Bridgeport educator who passed away a couple years ago, and his friends wanted to do something in his memory. And they got together and said, it's not fair that the affluent suburbs surrounding Bridgeport have a STEM curriculum, and the Bridgeport kids are not exposed to any of that. So they wanted to start a STEM program, and we had a STEM classroom with 2 instructors, full-time instructors. So the afternoon program, the kids would come there, and we had 3D printers and microscopes and B-bots to learn coding. And they wanted us to spearhead a STEM program to roll out to all the K through 8 schools in Bridgeport. So we've completed 22 schools. There's 6 more to go. And each classroom has about $40,000 worth of equipment. And it doesn't cost the Bridgeport Public Schools a nickel. Hall Neighborhood House covers everything. If some equipment breaks, we'll get it repaired. If it can't be repaired, we'll replace it with a new piece of equipment. Our staff goes out and trains the teachers, provides the curriculum. We just need a couple teachers in each school to raise their hand and say, yeah, we'd love to be the STEM classroom teachers here. And, some schools don't have a dedicated classroom for STEM, so they do it in the library, or they'll some of the STEM equipment is in carts on wheels, so you can move them around, and it's been well received. And the kids, there's sometimes there's a absentee problem in Bridgeport, but they say that the kids seem to be showing up for STEM in gym class, so attendance improves.
At least they're going to STEM.
Yeah, they're going to STEM.
Yeah, it definitely was a cool room and very well equipped. I mean, you had several 3D printers.
Yeah, it's a wonderful program, and our instructors, Lynn and David, are fantastic, and they're there for the teachers in those schools for support, and it's not like we train them once and then disappear. It's ongoing, and it's a wonderful program, and we're going to keep it going.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the outside looks great, and the tour you gave was amazing. Full kitchen, you got a chef in there, right?
One guy,
and
feeding all the kids. 274 kids. Not including the middle school, not including the afternoon kids. Yeah. That's just the early learning.
What changes or what have you spearheaded since you've been there in the 8 months?
We're just increasing visibility, awareness,
getting people in the door.
Yeah, tours. A lot of people have never heard of Hall Neighborhood House, even though it's been around many years. It's a great story and a wonderful place, and I just need to invite people.
Tell us a bit. It was named after a woman.
So it was named after a woman named Sarah Hall. She opened her home in 1886 to immigrant families coming to Bridgeport. The men went off to work in the factories, and she helped the women learn English and maybe take some classes, sign their kids up for school. And then over the years, it developed into a community center downtown, expanded. And then in the mid-50s, it moved to its current location on the east side of Bridgeport. And we have a waiting list for all our programs. So we're going to do an expansion and add some more seats. But yeah, it's great.
That's amazing. I love a good brand story. And I remember you sharing that. What are some of the major fundraisers you guys have? I know you have a breakfast coming up. Are there other events throughout the year?
Yeah, we do some smaller events, but our main fundraiser is it's a celebrity breakfast event that's coming up on Tuesday, June 24th. It's 7 a.m. It'll be over around 9:30, so people can get to work. And this year we're having the Yale men's basketball coach as our celebrity guest, James Jones, with to be moderated by Seth Greenberg, who's an ESPN
very cool
reporter. So that's our big fundraiser. There's information on our website, hallneighborhoodhouse.org. And I'd love people to stop by. Anyone wants to come visit, please give me a call. I can be reached at 203-257-9927, 203-257-9927. That's direct to me. That's my mobile.
Nice. And who would you say is your target as director of development? We're big on the buyer avatar, or who's my target? Who do you want to get into the doors that would be able to make the greatest impact? We
need more involvement from the business community, surrounding community. Fairfield, Bridgeport, local, Stratford. There's a lot of companies that should be supporting local community centers, and they've probably never heard of Hall Neighborhood House, but they will now.
They will now after this show. Leave us with maybe if you were a motivational philanthropy coach, what would you say to people to motivate them on the importance of giving back to your community?
There's a million ways to give back. People just have to find something that interests them and then just move forward with it. Like I said, some people love kids. We have some volunteers that just want to come and hold these 6-week-old babies and change a diaper or give them a milk and rock them in a rocking chair. They show up a couple days a week and just hang out for a couple hours. And, they support on the other end as well. And it's great. Whatever is your interest. Some people want to help the seniors. Some people want to get involved with our high school program. We have a high school program. These kids are very talented and gifted. And we have a summer program where we take them on campus tours and help them with essay writing and homework. And, there's a lot of we check a lot of boxes. So, and there's other nonprofits out there, whether you might have some friends or family members who have been, stricken with cancer or some sort of illness. There's organizations out there that try to help them. So get involved. Find something that you connect with and get involved.
Excellent advice. Well, Nick, I love what you did. Your legacy is going to be someone that's giving back. You know, you didn't just end your career, you know, as a banker and you know, go live somewhere in a remote island, you know, in
Santorini.
Santorini, beautiful, the most beautiful place on earth, I could say.
I'll get there, not yet.
Yeah, it's beautiful. So I love what you did to transition from, you know, being a banker. Now you're director of development at Hall Neighborhood House. You're making a difference. You truly are doing God's work, and I'm sure you're going to inspire many others in the business community to come along and do the same.
Thank you.
And thanks for being on our show.
I appreciate it.
All right, Nick. Thank you. All right, everybody. Thank you for listening to this episode of Mission Control. Until next time, this is your host, Ramon Peralta with Peralta Design, and we launch brands.